Hello, everybody. All right. Well. We're at Hump Day. We're at the middle of the week here. I hope everybody's having a good week thus far. Of course, we'll wait to give people a chance to come in here. Actually, I just remembered I got to do real quick. So while I'm gone, I will need to go off camera here for a quick moment. Be right back. Once I'm back, we'll go over what's on. All right, just still waiting around for people to show up. Yeah, we can get some more people in here, some more. And I do thank you whoever like and share. As always, guys, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people here. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. And I will, of course, try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Alrighty then. All right. So with that, let's see now. Yeah, 3 minutes in. So just about 3 minutes in. So we'll go over what's on tap for tonight. Okay, for tonight, of course, we're gonna go over a couple articles from Bounding into Comics. Um, One of them, of course, will be another. As we continue to see all the news leading up into last Thursday's last Thursday's Netflix release. Um, aside from that, of course, from that, the first thing we're going to start off with is how the Art Trooper stars reveal the Saban show's link to Jason David Frank and the White Ranger. So we're going to look at that as well. Also, of course, have the wrestling wrap up towards the end. All the latest news on the wrestling scene, WWE, AEW, Impact. You know, and also this day in each history. So, with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and just get started here? Get into this first article here. Alrighty then. So, all right. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into this. All right. So, the Art Trooper stars reveal the Saban show's link to Jason David Frank and the White Ranger. Article by J.B. Augustine, published on August 30th, which was about a week ago. Let's see, today's the 6th here. So yeah, about a week ago. One of Japan's leading companies in Tokusatsu Toei left its footprint in the U.S. with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers after they revolutionized the form back home. Along with Saban Entertainment, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was their biggest gambit in the Western market. Um, but it carries on and is also fondly remembered for its original incarnation. That's without taking account of subsequent seasons from Zero to Lost Galaxy. What people don't remember is that around the same time, Toei and Saban tried to get adaptations of other Japanese properties off the ground. This included a version of Toei's first hit, Masked Rider, which is a polarizing misfire, best left forgotten. Um, that is the last outcome you would expect when Kamen Rider has had such explosive success across the Pacific. In contrast, another series with ties to its more prosperous brethren had mild success in syndication for a few years. Cobbled together using footage from Toei's Metal Hero series VR Troopers, was objectively rough around the edges, but it still developed a following. Interestingly, what audiences embraced wasn't the original vision. Let's see if anybody is on yet. Nope. All right. So during a reunion panel at Colossus Con a few years back, two of the show's stars, Michael Hollander and Brad Hawkins, revealed that making VR Troopers was a seat of your pants experience. 6 months into filming, they didn't know their series would be picked up or how it would change by the premiere. The finalized title for one was a last minute thing. Initially, the project was called Cybertron, which no one consult which no one consulted Hasbro about during development. Hence, it was struck. Yeah, Cybertron is well known for being a term introduced by Hasbro, as in the planetary home of the Autobots and the Decepticons. That's just the beginning. Cybertron was originally pitched and produced as a solo vehicle for Power Rangers stalwart Jason David Frank. This star on the rise, Saban, nearly spun him off into a new project for which a pilot and sizzle reel were filmed. Unfortunately, Saban changed his mind for whatever reason. The likely story that Hawkins recalls is they underestimated how popular Frank was as Tommy, the Green Ranger, a run that finished out soon after Frank was brought back from his first hiatus. The Green Ranger's powers were depleted in the storyline, but Saban kept Tommy around and later made him the White Ranger. Things get more interesting from here. In a twist, Brad Hawkins was lined up for the White Ranger spot after auditioning for a new character. But again, uh, Jason David Frank, was too popular to deny. Concerned kids and parents wanted their Green Ranger back, even though, unbeknownst to them, his Japanese counterpart was killed off and the imported footage of him was exhausted. Undeterred, Saban um, took the opportunity to welcome Frank back to the Mighty Morphin fold and maneuver Hawkins over to Cybertron, which was revamped with more characters and others cut or retooled. The main antagonist, Adam Steele, became Ryan Steele, Hawkins, um, and he was joined by friends and teammates JB, Hollander, and Caitlin, Sarah Brown, um, in the fight for reality against Carl Zictor Grimlord. Carl Zictor Grimlord. The interdimensional tyrant and his corporate alter ego were played by the late Gardner Baldwin, an actor with a handful of Saban credits under his belt. The mentor Tao, played by Richard Rabago, the wardrobe, and most of the sets made it through every transition. And there were many. VR Troopers lasted 2 seasons, nearly reaching 100 episodes. So it definitely got enough in there for syndication. You just need like 65 in order to get a syndication deal. Here we go. Now people, hail Xenu and Xena. Are you are you buffering or is it me? Well, as far as I know, I'm not buffering. I shouldn't be. Um, but if you haven't already, JR, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people on, that'd be appreciated. Also, um, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Let's see. They were often filmed back to back and used so much stock footage that a reason for alterations to Ryan's robotic suit, season 2, had to be contrived. This problem would resolve itself when the producers ran out of usable footage and decided to cancel the show. Lagging toy sales and newcomer Big Bad Beetleborgs becoming the priority didn't help either. Yeah, basically, okay, one show, had a bit of a run and starts to fade, so another show comes in to take its spot. Basically, it sounds like basically happened here. VR Troopers still hasn't seen a proper home video release on Blu-ray or DVD with all the episodes enhanced by 4K and special features. Although it did wind up on Netflix for a while, Michael Hollander largely retired from show business, and Brad Hawkins eventually got his Power Ranger moment when he voiced the Gold Zeo Ranger. What is your reaction to this bit of history? Do you remember VR Troopers? Tell us below. I never watched it. I had heard of it a little bit, but I never got into it. So, um, anyways, get ready to move on to the next article here. And the next article, of course, is going to be another portion of the video or the interview, I believe from One Piece showrunners. There's a lot of stuff we're gonna try. Oh yeah, I think that was the. Yeah, that was gonna be the next one here.
We can
All right, so let's see now. So we're 16 minutes. Okay. Oh, that's far though. All right, so let's get into this next article here. All right, so Netflix's live action One Piece director on collaborating with series creator Ichiro Oda. Quote, I think it would be an insanity not to include him in every single decision that you make, unquote. Article by Spencer Cooley published a week ago on back on August 30th. In yet another instance of the series production team pushing back against Hollywood's disdain for source material accuracy, Netflix's live action One Piece director Mark Jobst, so this is a different guy, believes that any attempt at adapting Ichiro Oda's seminal work without consulting the man himself would be nothing short of quote unquote insanity. So we've heard from Stephen Maeda quite a bit. Now we're hearing from the director, Mark Jobst. So, Jobst, whose previous directorial credits with the streaming giant include stints on the first season of The Witcher and Luke Cage, as well as the second season of Daredevil, spoke to the importance of Oda's involvement in adapting his own work while giving a One Piece centric interview to Screen Rant. Asked by the outlet's Grant Hermans, if he could provide in any insight um, into his time working alongside the iconic manga, Jobst beamed, quote, he's the source. You know, why would you not go to the font? Unquote. Quote, he is the font, and he has created something that the world of One Piece, adores, unquote. He continued in his praise, quote, I think it would be an insanity not to include him in every single decision that you make and make sure that we are being truthful and honoring what it is that he's doing. Again, there is a translation from the manga to live action adaptations need to be made, and that's okay. And he was always very open to understanding that you have to make some changes in order to make that transition, so long as you are staying true and honoring the spirit of what his wonderful creation is. That sounds pretty cool. Again, it's good to see that you have a studio here in Tomorrow Studios who are the ones producing this live action animation. Basically, just telling the critics and all the SJWs and people to say, no, you should do this, that, where they can go stick it. That's really kind of the nice thing about that. Let's see if you guys have anything to say about this thus far. Nope. Okay. Quote, so, as a guiding hand over this whole show, he was a fantastic collaborator, unquote, Jobs ultimately opined on the topic. Quote, he wanted us to get it right, and we wanted to get it right for him, unquote. There's a live action version of Garp right there. Vincent Reagan portraying Vice Admiral Garp in season one. As noted above, Jobst is not the first member of the One Piece production crew to have realized that working with a creator in translating their work to a different medium is a far more successful game plan than overwriting them or outright rejecting their input. In parentheses, as was the case with Netflix's Cowboy Bebop abomination. Mm-hmm. Speaking to varieties, Jennifer Moss, ahead of the series premiere, executive producer Marty Adelstein, whose Tomorrow Studios produced both One Piece and the disaster known as the live action Cowboy Bebop, admitted that in the failure of the latter adaptation, Cowboy Bebop, taught him and his team that, quote, the fans are expecting you to be true to the source material, unquote. Uh huh. And it doesn't help when people like Daniela Pineda come out and excoriate the fans for not accepting what they wanted to do with it, right? Oh, as we read the comments, brackets in response to Cowboy Bebop, unbracketed, it was always, quote, well, they didn't do this character the same as this and that, unquote. Which, of course, one of the big ones they're talking about, of course, is Faye Valentine. She was kind of the femme fatale, and they decided to just dump that idea and make her more of a feminist. Instead of using her wiles to get away, she just use blunt force trauma as her. Uh, he explained, quote, it really taught us a lot of what we needed to do with this one, unquote. Likewise, asked during a separate interview, Herman's if he had learned any had learned any lessons. There's a bit of a typo there from Oda during their collaboration. Series co-showrunner Stephen Maeda revealed, "quote I would say just trying to figure out the amount of fealty and loyalty that had to be given to the manga." Unquote. Quote, and look, sometimes when something is adapted, it's very, very faithful, unquote, he added, quote, and sometimes it's a radical difference. Where it's just you just take the idea and you run with it in a completely different direction. Both types of shows can be successful. With this one, it was clear as we were talking about it that getting too far away from the source material was not going to be good in any way. And we, of course, covered this statement when we covered Maeda's interview, portion of Maeda's interview with Herman's. Quote, sure, there were wonderful stories that could be told that are not as close to the manga, Maeda elaborated. Quote, but I think that rightfully so, the fan base would not have accepted those shows because One Piece is such a beloved source material. And so I really wanted to, after a lot of trial and error, honor what Oda-san wanted to do, which was to have a version of the show that we felt really good about, that he felt really good about. Unquote. Again, I applaud him. Gotta applaud these people. They learned their lesson apparently. Good. The year. And so it was then a matter of lining those things up, kind of toggling them a little left, a little right, and just making sure that even if there's something new in the show, it feels genuine. Unquote. The co-showrunner continued, quote, pray to God the show feels like that, um, because that was the intent, unquote. Netflix's live action One Piece began its journey on the Grand Line on August 31st. All right, so let's see where we're at on time here. We've got a little extra time here. I might do one more article. Kind of got through those pretty. Yeah, 25 minutes. I think we got time to get at least one more article in. Let's see how we do here. One, maybe two. We'll see. All right, we got a couple here. All right, so we'll go ahead and do this article now. Let's see. This one's from the comic book section. All right, so sequels to Batman 89 and Superman 78 will introduce Harley Quinn, Scarecrow, and Metallo. Um, Article by J.B. Augustine published back on August 31st, which was, I believe, last Thursday. Um, a little note just to remind everybody Batman 89 and Superman 78 are comic books that are basically devoted to the universes that were created in those respective films. The Superman movie that came out in 1978 and the Batman movie that came out in 1989. These are the comic book adaptations of those movies that they're talking about here. So let's get into this. Legacy sequels come in many forms. The Burtonverse Dark Knight and the Donnerverse Man of Steel's next adventures came in the form of the miniseries Batman 89 and Superman 78. Both were made to correct the mistakes and take advantage of missed opportunities in their respective cinematic universes. Namely, we finally saw what Billy D. Williams might be like as Two Face. Wouldn't you know it? DC has more to do in these universes, so the sagas will continue with the Batman 89 sequel, Echoes, and the Superman 78 follow up, The Middle Curtain. Um, comicbook.com provided a sneak preview of the storylines and the art, which gives away some monumental debuts to the worlds of these iconic takes on our heroes. So, adding more to the character list of those particular universes. In the pages of Echoes, a Burtonverse version of the Scarecrow will emerge from the rows of corn to strike fear in Gotham, which might make the city a fallow ground for the hijinks of one Harley Quinn. And over the pages of The Metal Curtain, judging by the cover art, we will be treated to the long awaited return of Metallo. A cyborg with a Kryptonian heart has been MIA in movies all these years. So that's rectified in a small way here. He could be John Corbin, though his origin and identity aren't clear. The synopsis leads us to believe he is a Soviet super soldier cooked up to destroy the last son of Krypton, America's symbol of might and patriotism. Mm-hmm. Similarly, Harley and Scarecrow were left out of the DC cinematic universe, a cinematic multiverse, for years before the 2000s. Um, well, Harley was still a relatively new character in the 90s. Remember, she was basically created initially for the Batman the Animated Series. In fact, I think from what I had heard, some of the things I had heard over the years, she was initially designed just to be a one off character, but proved so popular that they decided to make her a real, and then they transitioned her from just the DCAU of Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and Joy McDuffie to the main canonical universe. Before that, there were in a script for a third Joel Schumacher film that was ultimately scrapped. In that story, Harley was the Joker's daughter out for revenge. Some of that backstory is likely to make it into Echoes, minus Schumacher's tone. Batman '89 Echo synopsis reads: "Quote: You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. After Harvey Dent's crusade against Gotham and Batman, the Cape Crusader, has disappeared without a trace. Oh wait. After Harvey Dent's crusade against Gotham and Batman, the Cape Crusader, has disappeared without a trace, in his place, ordinary citizens have taken to the street to root out crime. As innocents get get hurt, the question on everyone's mind is the same: Where is Batman?" Unquote. It continues, quote, "Sam Hamm, screenwriter of the 1989 Batman movie, and Joe Quinones reunite for another tale in Batman," unquote, uh, in Gotham. Next up is the plot to Superman 78, The Metal Curtain, which begins, quote, "When the planet Krypton exploded, the last sun was rocketed across the cosmos and came to settle in a small town in Kansas," unquote. It added, quote, "But what else came with him? And what if a piece of his home landed somewhere else, somewhere we never knew about? As Superman has become a symbol of strength, pride for America, the Soviet Union looks to crush that image with the creation of their own, um, built by their own might and forged by their own power," unquote. We also learned that, quote, "Robert Venditti returns to the Man of Steel and new artist Gavin Guidry," unquote. Batman '89 Echoes and Superman 78 The Metal Curtain reach retailers in November. Both Batman '89 Echoes number 1 and Superman 78 The Metal Curtain number 1 arrive on comic book shelves on September 28th, 2023. So that would be what? That'd be 3 weeks from tomorrow. Do you plan on checking out either of these new series? Okay, so there we go with that one. Let's see, where are we at on time here? 34 minutes. I think I will do one last story here. At the rate we've been going, I think I can get one last story here before we start to, you know, wind down to the end here. And there we go. This will probably be the last story we do here for tonight. All right. So Mark Hamill and James Gunn, among those paying tribute to original Harley Quinn actress Arlene Sorkin. Article by J.B. Augustine, published last Thursday, the 31st. Celebrity Intel. Now, many of you might remember Arlene Sorkin was the one who provided the voice of Harley Quinn on Batman the Animated Series and throughout the DCAU. Playing, of course, normal age Harley, about most of it, and then playing like playing an older version of Harley in Batman: Return of the Joker. Um, you know, um, as basically the grandmother to the Dee twins. So let's go ahead and get into this. So Arlene Sorkin, the first one to bring life to Harley Quinn with her voice, passed away last week at 67, and tributes are pouring in from those who knew her. The first among them is a post by voice actor Neil Kaplan, who was the first to break the sad news. Neil Kaplan, who of course provides the voice of Optimus Prime, I think it's the Transformers, the first Robots in Disguise cartoon, the early one from back in 2003, I believe. Um, he wrote of how much his heart is broken. Quote, "It broke my heart to hear the original voice of Harley Quinn, Arlene Sorkin, has passed away." Unquote. Kaplan posted in full, quote, "I adored her work as Harley Quinn and as Calliope in Days of Our Lives." Unquote. Outside of her work behind the microphone, Sorkin was a comedian with a recurring role on the long-running soap opera Days of Our Lives. In one episode, she played a clown in a daydream that got her noticed by Batman the Animated Series producer Paul Dini. Paul Dini, a longtime writer, of course, his credits go back to, I think, as far back as late 70s. I do know he did some writing for Filmation on like He-Man and Master of the Universe and She-Ra, Princess of Power, back in the 80s there. Who was working on new characters for the show. This scene gave him the inspiration for Harley Quinn, and later appeared in a few frames of the 2020 Birds of Prey film as an homage to Harley's humble beginnings. Now, of course, Harley Quinn, of course, is a play on the word Harlequin, which is like a jester or clown. I think it's a female jester or clown. Because DC actually did have another character earlier, back in the golden age, Molly Main, who eventually became Molly Main Scott. It was also named Harley Quinn. Well, she went by Harley Quinn, not Harley Quinn. But anyways, Denny and crew made quite a few adjustments to Harley before she was ready for the page, but she has done nothing except evolve over the years. Initially, she was supposed to be a side character but wasn't going to stick around long. History played out differently, however, and she has been with us in every form of media since. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Started she started out, as I said, she's just going to be a one-time mole character. That's what they call mole, MOLL, which is basically means gangster's girlfriend or something like that. Um, you know, she was kind of like sweet on Joker and all that, and then just then her character just took off. She became the Joker's girlfriend in a decades-long toxic relationship. Harley emancipated herself from fairly recently. From fairly recently, um, Mark Hamill was the voice of Mr. J for the majority of that time, and he typically stood next to Sorkin when recording his lines. The actor, just as famous for Star Wars as he is for Batman, shared his grief in a post. Now, Mark Hamill, of course, has had his own set of credits in the VA community. Of course, Joker being one of them, but he was also Hobgoblin and Spider-Man, the animated series of the mid '90s. I believe he was the voice of the antagonist in Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce, I believe, in the early 2000s. So, and he's got a pretty distinct voice when it comes to when he's asked to play the more psychotic villains. Um, Quote, devastated to learn we've lost the brilliant Arlene Sorkin, not just a wonderful talent, but a truly wonderful person. I'm grateful not only to have worked with her, but to have been her friend, sending my heartfelt condolences to her family and loved ones, unquote. He wrote, Hamill added a praying hands emoji and a broken heart, one to his post, plus images of Sorkin and Harley. Yeah, I mean, for those from the DCAU, this stuff's got to be particularly those who were involved in Batman this past year has got to be a big downer for them because earlier this year, of course, they lost Kevin Conroy passed away, who is of course the voice of Batman, Bruce Wayne. Now they've lost. Now Arlene Sorkin has passed away. So DC Studios co-president and the Suicide Squad director James Gunn posted a requiem on the Meta-owned Twitter X alternative Threads. Um, he wrote, "quote Rest in peace, Arlene Sorkin, the incredibly talented original voice of Harley Quinn, who helped to create the character so many of us love. Love to her family and friends." Unquote. Back on X, fellow Harley voice actress Tara Strong, who was the second voice of Barbara Gordon Batgirl in you know in Batman the Animated Series. Tara Strong, of course, well-known VA manga credits, of course, include, as I said, the second Batgirl, also Bubbles from Powerpuff Girls, Raven from Teen Titans. Um, so among many right there. Um, Quote, without this gorgeous, talented goddess, Harley Quinn would have never existed. Took over the part in the Arkham games, said, quote, without this gorgeous, talented goddess, Harley Quinn would have never existed. She was the inspiration and the heart and soul of this iconic character. I was in awe as Batgirl watching her alongside Mark Hamill and Kevin, sending love to her family. R.I.P. Hashtag R.I.P. Arlene Sorkin. She's quite a beautiful woman too. There, known for many television appearances beyond Batman the Animated Series, including on Frasier, Arlene Sorkin's career spanned decades before her retirement 2011. Her passing comes 1 year after Kevin Conroy's um, untimely succumbing to cancer. So, yeah. Oh, there we go with that one. So that should do it for tonight. Um, 44 minutes. So, okay. So with that, now we will get going, and we will do this day. Well, actually, before we do this day in each history, we will of course do the wrestling wrap up, as we just have a few things to kind of go over, as it were. Of course, on the big story, of course, CM Punk. Um, kind of the aftermath of his firing from AEW still making the rounds. You know, first off, it looks like many people in the WWF, many of the talent don't want him back there. But I seriously doubt if the WWE is going to bring him. But of course, right now, what's kind of complicating things is whether or not there's a no compete clause. Since he was fired with since he was terminated with cause, does that mean he can instantly be hired by another company? Now, one little surprising tidbit I found out earlier today is apparently Impact Wrestling is interested in bringing him in. Why Scott D'Amore would even consider that, or Anthem Sports would consider that, I don't know, considering the issues he's had over the last couple of years in AEW, considering how he left the WWE. Do they really want to bring that headache in? But then again, with what they've been doing with like Bully Ray and Steve Maclin, I guess it's par for the course. But anyways, among some other things, of course, Becky Lynch they're now transitioning Becky Lynch into working a program with Raquel Rodriguez, or not Raquel, Tiffany Stratton, as she will on next week's edition of NXT will be challenging for the NXT title. In the continuing of the WWE bringing down the main roster talent to NXT to try to bolster ratings to get Fox pick it up as pick up its contract, renew its contract. Let's see. So that's pretty much, and then there's a possible heel turn. They've been dropping hints at another possible heel turn for the Street Profits. They've been kind of playing up loose association they've had with Bobby Lashley. He's slowly been recruiting them. So we'll just wait and see as that all pans out. And with that now, let's do some AEW. So on tonight's Dynamite, Jon Moxley will be defending the international title against AR Fox. Chris Statlander defends the TBS title against Emi Sakura. Aussie Open will be in a tag team match against Les Sex Gods of Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho, and in a pair of quarterfinal matches to determine who will face MJF at Grand Slam in 2 weeks. Roderick Strong with the Kingdom in his corner will be taking on Trent Beretta, who will have Chuck Taylor in his corner. And Darby Allin takes on Nick Wayne in the main event so they're doing a tournament over the next couple of weeks to determine who will face MJF for the AEW World Tag Team title. At Grand Slam in 2 weeks here. So that's pretty much what's going on there. And then we already talked a little bit about Impact. So with that, we're done with the wrestling wrap up, as it were. So now, why don't we go ahead and today being Wednesday, September 6th, 2023 here. Let's take a look back at this day in each history. Anyways, first off, we're going to head back 50 years ago today. Is on this date, 50 years ago today. On this date, 50 years ago today, the 220th issue of House of Mystery went on sale on this date back in 1973. By this point, House of Mystery, initially it was a superhero anthology with some horror elements, but by this point it become more of a horror anthology. As you were starting to see at least some relaxing in some areas of the Comics Code Authority at this point. The two stories were They hunt butterflies, don't they? And The Hunter. So, so on this date, back in 1973, the 220th issue of House of Mystery went on sale on this date. Moving ahead to 1993, which was 30 years ago today. On this date, 30 years ago today, The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog would make its main premiere in first run syndication on this date back in 1993. The pilot had debuted a year earlier, but on this date back in 1993, the main series would premiere on in syndication. So with that, moving on to the final piece of niche history today. On this date, 15 years ago today, in 2008, Kensuke Sasaki would Kensuke Sasaki would defeat Takeshi Morishima for the GHC Heavyweight Championship. This is the main title. This is the main title for Pro Wrestling Noah. So on this date, 15 years ago today, Kensuke Sasaki would defeat Takeshi Morishima for the GHC Heavyweight Championship. With that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Of course, we'll be back here tomorrow night with more niche news. We'll be talking about what's happening this weekend in Impact with Victory Road coming up on Friday, and then the taping of Impact Wrestling's 1000th episode. We'll be doing that. Let's see. Also, this Friday, of course, will be our weekly look back at comics history. Tim Olson will be my guest co-host on that night. We'll be looking at comics that went on sale from Archie Comics, most notably Blue Ribbon Comics. I think it's Volume 1, number 3, maybe 4. We'll be looking at features like Ring-a-Tang, Corporal Collins, Bob Phantom, Crime Doesn't Pay. So with that, I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight, and I look forward to seeing you all back here tomorrow. Bye.